everyone, and welcome back. This week on Eunuch Corner Club, I'm going to wax fictional about Star Trek and weave it into something that I see as a problem today. Most of you know that I have a few loyal Yizraelites out there, and one of them is actually flying in to visit me for the next week. So for the next 4 or 5 days, I am mostly going to be unreachable. I'm going to be visiting with her and hopefully having a good time showing her my beautiful little rural mountain town. And she's not the only one that has expressed interest in wanting to move away from big cities lately. Obvious reasons, right? I'm attempting a new camera and lighting setup. I'm using reflected natural light from 2 windows that reflects through a piece of glass, or reflects off of a large piece of glass to put some diffuse real light into my little studio here. Unfortunately, where I have to shoot to do that, the tin ductwork and the hollow walls make a more tinny, echoey sound. So this is more of a lighting test. I don't think I'm going to shoot in this particular location of the downstairs again because of how echoey it is. However, let's move on to the meat of this week's Eunuch Corner Club, and that is the Star Trek Utopia as argued by different types of people. Primarily, the argument I want to focus on is that Star Trek is an excellent representation of some kind of communist or socialist utopia, when I disagree and think it's actually the opposite. It is an optimization of ethnocentrism and liberalism, not anything authoritarian or centralized. The reason I say this is many mind in the clouds types that I've argued with before about collectivism, socialism, communism, or even fascism like National Socialist types. Not all, but some. These types argue that the expression that we see in the Star Trek shows is one of strong collectivism, where things like race and religion have been unified or eliminated. And I believe that shows a great ignorance about the Star Trek shows themselves, going as far back as you want into Star Trek's history. By the way, I use the cutoff of Enterprise. Anything from Enterprise forward I think is mostly crap. Enterprise has some good episodes and I like to back you up, but I'm talking about original series up through Deep Space Nine. Star Trek paints for us a UFP, a United Federation of Planets, but it is not one based on a common authoritarian strand. It's not one based on a singular collective trait, such as ethnocentrism, religion, that kind of thing. The best way to explain the difference between that fiction and our reality is they are a post-scarcity setting. That means that because of their matter replication, they can turn waste and garbage and even dead people into usable tools or edible food. And when you take resource war off the table, there rapidly is little need for what we recognize as states and militaries these days. You sort of fall back to minarchism, where the only thing you really need a state for is to protect you from exterior threats, such as, Klingons or Romulans, that kind of thing. So what I want to address here is 2 things. First, I'd like to explain why it's wrong to say that Star Trek is space communism or space socialism. Number 2, I would like to express why Star Trek is an excellent example of what I've been talking about the last few months, which is a mix of classic liberal English common law values and ethnocentrism. And that doesn't mean ethno-nationalism, where you want to purge everything but one. It means ethnocentrism, where ethnicities, race, religion, nationality, that kind of thing, they focus together, they have their own space and their own segment of society through which to live and flourish. Star Trek represents that, because you can look at Deep Space Nine, Voyager, original series, Next Generation. You have individuals that represent their ethnicity. It's not washed away from them. They are not part of some collective like communism or fascist socialism, anything like that. It is a fractured libertopia, so to speak, where within this one precept, this over-governance of the United Federation of Planets, the human species has many different segments, racially, religiously, and you can even look to Next Generation, where Picard talks about the values of different religions, different races of people, all being valuable and part of the human tapestry. Without ethnocentrism, all of that is lost. So those of you who value religion, racial differences, cultural diversity, you should actually step back and think why global collectivism and this modern expression of whatever kind of Marxism or social collectivism you want to call the church of woke these days, it's actually the enemy of cultural diversity. Because with shame and power, it wants to eliminate real diversity and make everyone be the same and participate the same in this same cultural zeitgeist, which is basically a new non-theistic religion. That's not what Star Trek is. Star Trek, if anything, is sort of an idealistic libertarian utopia, because people don't really have a lot of laws and strictures to live under. They do their own thing. They have matter replication. They can live on a farm. They can create a vineyard. They can ride horses forever. There's not really a lot of need anymore in the idealistic, lofty humankind in Star Trek. But the Federation of Planets, especially the leadership of Earth, strongly values their ethnic and cultural diversity, which means they didn't go out of their way to destroy it. They encourage the same thing I've been talking about lately, which is healthy, nonviolent ethnocentrism. In America, we have our own blend of patriotic feelings, religion, racial values, spiritual values that makes us American. It's largely white, but there are many black people I've met, and a couple of, I think Mexican is their original nationality, but I just met them briefly in Albuquerque. But I have met people that I feel, even though they're not racially like me, could be of the same ethnicity zeitgeist of America. Are we the same? No. We have a racial component, which is the primary component of ethnicity that makes us different, but that doesn't mean that we're mortal enemies and should try to kill each other. That just means that it is possible for ethnocentrism to have common ground with other ethnocentric groups, cultures, or nations, and everybody get along and no need to kill each other. And when you look at Star Trek, where you take the resource battle off the table because of matter replication, that last real linchpin of ugly statism falls away, because you don't have states that are competing for resources anymore. That's why I think Star Trek is a good way to sort of look at the ideals of what I talk about when I say ethnocentrism or ethno-nationalism. It doesn't mean anything ugly or authoritarian or that one ethnicity or race is superior to another. That's not what I mean when I say any of the things that I say in my current videos. I'm talking about the value of cultural, spiritual cohesion, not interfering with other groups. I don't think that it's right the way that multiculturalism is forced upon the West these days. It's wrong. I believe every viewer that I have probably agrees with me in that. There should not be greedy, heartless corporate powers or ideologically driven powers that want to use sedition and force and market manipulation to destroy families and religion of an ethnicity. It doesn't matter what color of skin they have, that's wrong. It's wrong about the Uyghurs, that what China's doing to the Muslim Uyghurs. It's wrong when a certain unnamed power group did it to a certain small hat merchant group in the early 1900s. I don't think that's right either. I don't want there to be a war or a conflict or even negativity between ethnocentric groups. But it's proven time and time again, not just with history, but with sociology and psychology, that we have a strong, if you want to even call it spiritual, a psychometric or spiritual connection to those of us who are similar. Race is a primary component of that. You can't get rid of it. So racial identity is a major facet of ethnicity, and as I have expressed in my last few main videos, ethnicity is a core part of a society, a nation. And that's why you cannot divorce the ethno part of ethno-nationalism. But I think a healthier way to look at it is ethnocentrism. So to wrap up this, what I would like to remind you of is ethnocentrism is evident in the most ideal type of fictional setting that most people who talk about ideal socialism or communism talk about. But the modern Marxists and those who have been weaponized by the global elite against nations, they want the opposite of that. They want the elimination of ethnic and cultural diversity. They speak lies constantly. They champion things that they say are bad, such as cultural diversity, cultural appropriation. Well, if you eliminate all of those things, nobody can be that anymore. So you don't have those things at all, making it a moot point, thereby achieving your end goal is eliminating diversity, even though diversity is the banner through which you're conquering us and beating us over the head. So in the future going forward, if you come across people who like to use Star Trek or a similar fictional setting as a poster child for a healthy socialist or communist utopia, remind them it is nothing of the sort. They value spiritual, religious, racial, and ethnic diversity, and they want those groups to remain cohesive, healthy, and nurtured well into the future. There's nothing wrong about that, and there's nothing evil about that unless you weaponize it and go to war to try to purge the other groups. It's very hot in here. It's almost 80 degrees outside and near 100% humidity, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm already starting to get moist in here. So to remind you all, I'll be mostly under the radar the next 4 or 5 days, spending time with my friend who's coming to visit me. But you can reach me as usual through email or social media if you have a direct tether to me. You can expect more content, maybe a video of the two of us sometime towards the middle of next week. As always, please leave your comments and opinions down below. Click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And more than anything, please share this video to people that you think would enjoy it. Share my content because I would like to grow and reach as many minds as possible. So until next time, peace and profits.